Hey guys, what's up? Luffy here, and I'm back again with another video. Thank you guys for checking in. Before I begin, I just want to say please go down and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out. Okay, so I want to give you guys some quick updates on some unemployment figures that just came in this morning. So at the time of me making this video, it's about 9:45 in the morning Eastern time. And today's Thursday, April 16th. So the jobs report, unemployment numbers came out this morning, a little over an hour ago. They come out every Thursday at 8:30 in the morning. And for the past month or so, I've been covering it on a week-by-week basis, just trying to stay on top of it and give you guys a little bit more information so that you guys know what's happening in the market and so that you can better prepare yourself. All right, so the report came out yesterday, or this morning, not yesterday. And some big numbers. Headline figure, 5.25 million people filed an initial claim last week. So this is down from where we were before. If you guys remember the first week that things really hit the fan, we were at about 6.2 million. Following week at around 6.6 million. And now we're looking at about 5.25 million. So over the course of the last 4 weeks, we've had just under 22 million people file an initial claim for unemployment. And that is absolutely staggering. Honestly, guys, numbers like that are, I don't even want to say rarely seen, they've never been seen before. Really, since, if you take it on a percentage basis, maybe since the Great Depression. Now, granted, you could argue that the reason for this decline is due to something completely different, but nonetheless, the economic effects are gonna be just as severe. So, from reading the report, what I've seen so far is that there has been a general decrease in the number of initial claims, but a lot of states are still having increases in the number of their claims. So Georgia, for instance, or I'm going to pull it up right here so I can give you guys the actual states that are seeing increases in their number of claims. So Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Texas, Virginia, these are just some of the states that have seen an increase in the number of initial claims, while some of the states seeing the largest decrease in initial claims: California, Pennsylvania, Florida, Ohio, Massachusetts, North Carolina. The jobs report didn't give too much information about which segments of the economy these jobs are being lost or gained at. But just from doing some of my own research, what I found out is that a lot of these layoffs now are starting to come from what I would consider the second wave of layoffs. All right, so the first wave of layoffs really was going to be a lot of the hospitality, tourism, and food services industry. So this second round of layoffs, and that's kind of what we expected, right? If it was a short contraction, if it was a short shutdown, pretty much, the extent of the contraction would be limited to a few industries. But as we're getting into about a month now of things being officially closed, a lot of companies are having to make really important decisions about who they're going to keep on their payroll, if it makes sense to furlough an employee versus to let them go. And a lot of other companies are just closing down. So the types of jobs that are now being affected are shifting. From one survey that I saw, about 3 million people who would consider themselves like business professionals are now unemployed. So for the most part, these are still people who are going to be lower level in an organization, but there's still a lot of long-term effects that come from this every single day that we're shut down. So if you work in a white-collar job, don't assume that you're safe. To be honest, that's extremely arrogant to think that the effects of something happening don't have any impacts on you. An economy is an exchange. It's a system, and you are part of that system. And it's arrogant to believe that you can exist outside of that system. So just because you have a cushy office job doing something doesn't mean that you're not gonna, working for a private company or even for a government. Governments are beginning to now lay off some of their workers because state and local governments, for the most part, as opposed to the federal government, are mandated to balance their budgets most of the time. That's something that they have under their charge. So, if their earnings aren't going to come in like they assumed, if their tax revenue is going to be decreased, then they need to reduce their expenses, and they do that mainly through payroll. So we should, the longer this goes on, see the effects of this go into other industries besides just the ones that, are headline figures, like hospitality and tourism and food service workers. Speaking of headline figures, I just want to make a quick point to you guys that you guys over the next couple of days, weeks, in the past couple of days or weeks, probably have heard a lot about the unemployment rate, and these job claims are directly tied to the unemployment rate, but they're not the same thing. Okay, the headline unemployment rate, and that's part of the reason why I actually read these reports and try to give you guys the information about it, because this is going to paint a little bit more accurately a picture of what the situation is here in America. Okay, the unemployment rate is a skewed metric. It's a valuable metric, and I'm not going to completely dismiss it, but it is slightly skewed. Okay, so unemployment rate, the headline unemployment rate that's reported here in America is based off of the number of people in the labor force and the number of people looking for work. Okay, so if you're a discouraged employee or former employee, if you completely gave up hope of looking for another job, you are not counted in unemployment statistics, which is like, to most people, mind-blowing, because you would imagine that if I had been busting my ass for the past 2 months trying to find a job and I can't find one and I just give up all hope and I've lost hope in finding a job, I'm no longer considered unemployed, which is obviously there's a problem there. Okay, and this was something that I recognized over 10 years ago. Honestly, during the last recession, I was in middle school actually during the last recession. I remember we were in class talking about the unemployment number, and when I learned that the unemployment number was a derivative of the number of people looking for work as opposed to the number of actual people in the economy, then I realized that it was not the end-all be-all. I mean, and it could be miscued and misguided in a couple different ways. And I'll give you guys an example right now. The PPP is a direct suppressor of the unemployment rate. Okay, so the Paycheck Protection Program, if you guys remember, this was a program set up so that companies can get 2.5 times their monthly payroll in the form of a forgivable loan if they used it to keep their employees on payroll, right? So what does this do? This artificially lowers the unemployment rate because we keep employees on payroll as opposed to pushing them off onto the federal government and letting them claim unemployment benefits. Now, this isn't 100%, A, B, C, because there's a lot of nuance to it. For instance, there's a lot of companies that, from the first week of the shutdown, they let off 75% of their employees. Getting a PPP check now, I'm not necessarily going to rehire all of those employees or put them back on the payroll immediately. So there's a lot of moving parts to this system, but you can see that the headline unemployment rate may not be the best statistic just for you to base all of your investment decisions off of, for you to see the state of the economy. There are other metrics. So for instance, you can look at something like the employment to population ratio, which sees how many people are employed relative to the general size of the population. Now, generally, this metric also has some flaws to it. Like, for instance, it doesn't take into account an aging workforce or some of the effects maybe from immigration. But nonetheless, over a short-term period of time, looking at something like the employment to population statistic probably will give a better indicator of the number of people who are going to become unemployed. Unemployment for April is probably going to come out somewhere between 6 to 8%, even though most economists are telling you guys that, we're going to hit 20%, 25%, we're already at 10 to 15% unemployment. Well, a large part of that is because a lot of the people who are currently unemployed aren't looking for work. And that's a requirement to become part of the unemployment rate. And especially because we've extended unemployment benefits, there's a lot of people who have a disincentive to return to work. So, in a time like this where, like I just said, 22 almost million people filed for unemployment in the past month, there is a lot of changes that are occurring in our economy. You guys want to stay up to date on everything, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment down below. I come out with new videos every single day talking about real estate, personal finance, and how you can become a lot healthier financially, secure the financial freedom and future of your family and yourself, and come to understanding of peace, love, and prosperity. Thank you guys for watching the video. I really appreciate it. One love.